the Bitcoin Art broadcast brought to you by Bitcoin Art Magazine. And this is the Bitcoin Art podcast with Asanoha. And today we are featuring Amy DiGi. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yeah. It's for my mother's maiden name, DG.
Okay.
It wasn't for digital at all.
Well, it fits perfect with all of the all of our lovely online anon pseudonyms and handles and so forth. So
it's just by accident.
All right, this is the Bitcoin Art Podcast, the show where we explore how Bitcoin isn't just code, it's culture, philosophy, and yes, art. Before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to sponsors, patrons, artists that have made the Bitcoin Art Magazine a reality and have made it possible. Thank you to everyone who has ordered a magazine from us, and thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors in the magazine. These sponsors are all hand-selected by Kisa and I. All of our sponsors are companies or products that we use ourselves or would recommend to our friends and family. We have a pretty highly curated collection of sponsors. We do not accept sponsorship from anybody, only good Bitcoin-only companies. And a big shout out to all of the artists in the magazine who have contributed artwork to make this possible and who are out there in the world, such as Amy DiGi, making beautiful, wonderful Bitcoin art and helping to propel the Bitcoin revolution forward through the lens of art and the culture. So once again, today we have Amy DiGi on the show. Thank you for taking the time. And I'm going to open it up with, will you tell me a little bit about your childhood and what sort of environment you were raised in? And who would you say were the people who shaped you the most? And if any question I ask you don't want to answer, you can just say next question and we'll move on to the next question.
Okay. So I grew up outside drinking from a hose. I'm part of that generation that was just on a bike, and we came home when the street lights went on, and nobody watched us. We just congregated at a park, rode around all day long, came home if we were a little hungry, and left again. If the sun was out, we were out. We weren't inside much. And wasn't until I got to high school and I met my high school art teacher, Sherry Turkheimer, and she just shaped my life, man. She gave me the keys to the art room, and in a time where, maybe it's not allowed now. I was a teacher. It's not allowed now, but I was allowed to go in there and make art. And that's what really, I think, what really started getting this whole art thing off the ground.
It's just, like there's when you say drinking out of a hose outside, there's a nostalgia to that, I think I was one of the last generations that was kind of at the tail end of that, what I would consider a golden age of humanity, where it was, that was just the norm. And you ran around outside, and it's sometimes funny to think about, I think these days, like, oh, wow. Like we were like, just like out there, like in the street, cars and down the road and across the neighborhood. And it's the times have definitely changed. I hope maybe through Bitcoin, the world can move back to a safer place. Where we can let our kids go run around in the street with the cars again. It's kind of crazy to think now that I feel like it's there's people out there that are scarier than the cars in the street, and I feel like it wasn't always like that. So. But drinking water out of a hose, man.
My kid's outside, and my kid drinks from the hose, and my kid pees behind bushes. Like, outside, goodbye. And he is in the world. He's going to be 9, and he's in the world of technology.
Yeah.
but I don't think he has like the patience to sit down. We all move our hands in our house. Like I'm always making something. My husband's always building something. My son is always, everybody never sits down. Like we could do for a little bit and then we're off and then somebody's got to go do something. So it's in his nature to move. So I think he's got like a really kind of good balance of both. But I also never gave him a phone when we were shopping at the supermarket. I never gave him a phone because he was bored, like we always talked, we always did something, but technology was not the answer for me and him.
Yeah, no, that's I'm happy to hear that he's drinking out of the hose.
He is.
You've been making art since a very young age.
Yeah.
And you had the keys to the art room. Was there a moment in your early life when you first realized that you saw the world differently from most people around you or from many people around you?
I was always like a little different. Oh, that's Amy. Oh, okay. I was always a little different and I didn't really care what people thought. Not in a mean way, but just like, this is my little world and I'm happy here and that's it,
Yeah.
I was always happy making something. I was always happy. My hands were moving. It like all was right in my world because I can control it. However, it's also so out of control. Like you think you're going to master painting and then it kicks your ass and then you're just like, wow, I don't know anything. It's like no matter how much you learn and grow painting, drawing, printmaking, it will always be smarter than you or tell you what to do at times. Like you're always learning as an artist, I think.
I couldn't agree more. I have a quite a bit of experience in like construction and fabrication and so forth. And so I often will think that I am, I get an idea for an art project and I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. I use tools and stuff. This is going to be easy. And it's like, you're like, I'm going to build my own frames. And so,
yeah. And then the degree is just off a little bit and then your frame is just a little off. And it's so true. Yeah. But I think the key is consistency. The more you show up, the more you do it. The more those little bumps in the road, the more you know that you're like, all right, I'll figure it out. Like you have more confidence that you can figure it out. It's going to happen, like it's Murphy's Law. It's going to happen. But as you do more and you show up every day, you're like, okay, yeah, I fucked around. I found out. I knew this was going to happen. And all right, so let me go back a few steps before the problem happened, and then I'll just figure it out from there. So I think it becomes less monumental, and it becomes like a more of a challenge, like a determination. Like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure it out. And then that's all you think about until it's figured.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Hey, if you're willing, will you tell us a memory from when you were young that was profound, something that maybe moved you deeply or that shaped your psyche in a way you still feel today?
It goes back to art. It always does. Like I was young. I was about 15 years old. And the same high school art teacher, she told me, she said, you have to go to life drawing classes. Otherwise, you're not going to get into Pratt. Pratt's a prestigious school. And we grew up our school was poor. I mean, not super poor, but we didn't have, it wasn't an art school and we didn't have modeling. So she asked my mother to pick me up on Thursday nights and took me a little upstate New York with another teacher. And And I went to like college life drawing classes from, I don't know, 7 to 10 at night every Thursday. And that's where I started really drawing. But they're nude. So it was kind of crazy. You're like kind of drawing a nude person next to your high school art teacher. Then you go to school on Friday and, you know, all the other kids are like, hey, how's it going? You're like, hey. It's like, it was a necessity to get my portfolio where it needed to be. She knew that the school didn't offer it. She knew if I didn't have this experience, I wouldn't get into the school. And so sometimes what sticks with me is sometimes you just got to think outside of the box to get to where you want to go. And that was the answer, because it changed my portfolio.
Yeah. Did you end up going there?
I did because we went to Pratt Portfolio Day. Like Pratt opened its doors to younger students once a year, and you brought your portfolio and somebody would review it next to their criteria, and they would be like, well, you need a little bit more of this and you need a little bit more of that. And had I not had those life drawings inside my portfolio, I don't think I would have gotten in. And oddly enough, years later, after I was in Pratt, I reviewed people's portfolios.
Amazing.
So crazy, right?
Yeah. So you're an actual, so you're a trained artist, a childhood artist and a trained artist.
Yeah.
Now that's so cool. I came to art later in life, so I never got the art school experience. It was, you know.
Smart route. I did not, because the student loans were astronomical to go to school, and I think the best way to be an artist is just through practice. It's just through practice, and especially now with the internet, you know, like you could find all these tips and hacks, but when I was in school, they didn't exist, you know. So that was the route that I took, and that I took the debt with it, and you figured it out later, and then you don't have any of that debt. So good on you.
Yeah. Well, I will say though, sometimes I'm a little envious of those who had a bit more of a formal training. So
I think I really learned how to paint. In Pratt, I focused mostly on drawing. And in Pratt, I focused mostly on art education. And then I really learned how to paint from the Art Students League when I attended there. I went and I worked like as an assistant, as a monitor for Joe Peller and for Mary Beth McKenzie. And that's where I really learned how to paint. And so that didn't, I didn't get debt from that, because you could work through school. So I worked in the cafeteria, I worked in the library, not the library, I worked in the gallery. So you could kind of work to pay for your tuition. So, but that's where I really learned how to paint. So it's possible you can get the formal training without the expenses and without being graded, without the judging, without the critiques and all of that. It's possible. Yeah. But you know, it's like the same thing that I've learned in here. Like your ear has to be on the pavement to hear the whisperings, because sometimes the path is not very loud. So you have to kind of like, you know, rummage through some stuff to get there. It's the same in Bitcoin, same in crypto, same. It's the same, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Finding the signal amidst the noise.
It's true. Yeah.
All right. Hey, will you tell me, I guess, when was the moment you decided to make Bitcoin art? If you remember that moment, and or just how did you get into making Bitcoin art from?
Oh, I went absolutely the long way. Absolutely the long way. So there's a Maro. He's in Bitcoin, and I met him. We were single travelers traveling around Europe when I was very young, in my early 20s. And through so this is where technology kind of helped us, because through that technology, Facebook, whatever, we all stayed in contact, the 7 single travelers, and then 5 of us still keep in contact. And he would come to New York as a Fulbright scholarship, and we would meet for dinner and stuff. And he's the first person ever to say, hey, you got to get Bitcoin. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't hear of it. Like, I'm standing in front of an easel painting, right? So he says, you need to get Bitcoin. Okay. And then finally he said one day, your work needs to get on the blockchain. Okay. How? This was before there were YouTube videos. I wasn't on Reddit. Like, I'm just kind of blind, feeling around in the dark, and nothing really came up. I mean, I think at this point, I think I had to hire a coder to try and get the art on the blockchain, and I didn't know coders. I was in the physical art world painting, and there's a big resistance to crypto in the physical art world. I think there's enough for everybody to go around. Like, if you want to paint physical paintings, plein air paintings outside, then you do you. If I want to make plein air paintings and make frogs of Pepe, then I'll do me or Bitcoin. Like it. So I think there's enough to go around. But when I was learning, like just in the beginning stages, I couldn't make headway. I was lost. And then he finally said, get your work on the blockchain, open MetaMask, get your work on OpenSea. So I did. And it was like a lot of just anything I had, anything my hand touched. I was like, I'll mint this, because it was the lazy minting. I'll mint that. And then I went through, what was it? Known origin. I applied to Maker's Place or something, form function, Nifty Gateway, like trying to find my way. And then finally I found Pepe and started making some Pepes in, like, quietly in the closet. I wasn't going to share them because I didn't know if I belonged. And the same with Bitcoin. Like, I don't know if I belonged. But I do belong. We all belong.
We all belong.
And so going through Manifold and figuring out my own contract and getting on Foundation and all of it, then finally I found myself making Pepe, and then I found myself making Bitcoin art. Just from being around. And the Bitcoin art that I had, like nobody wanted it, and I still have it. It's just on the floor here, like it didn't go anywhere. And I didn't even know the channels to make it go anywhere. So I just started making it without knowing the life that it may have afterwards. It just was in me. I don't know. And I like orange.
I like orange.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, we're really excited to be featuring some of your Bitcoin art in the upcoming edition of Bitcoin Art Magazine here. So I'm really happy. I feel like I kind of like, discovered you in a way, because I think that I was already working on the magazine here, and I didn't, maybe we'd run into each other in some chats before, but I was kind of working on the magazine already here before I got to know you. So it's just been a pleasure so far, and you've been so supportive of everything. And I feel like you belong as much or more than anybody else right here. So yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, do you have any thoughts or any insight or any? What'd you say?
Like Bitcoin artists and Pepe artists like physical art. So when I was doing all of that stuff in OpenSea and on Foundation, I didn't figure out the physical side because I'm not. I mean, I can work in digital, but for me, I want to make physical work. I want to make paintings. I want to feel texture. I want to smell ink. And so after I started putting stuff on OpenSea and somebody collected it, maybe, digitally, in the beginning, nobody really wanted the physical work. Nobody wanted anything really to do with the physical work. I said, I'll mail it to you. Maybe if you were my friend, then somebody would be like, yeah, mail it. Other than that, people in the beginning, for me, didn't want the physical work. And then, so that's what made like Bitcoin and the Pepe stuff so physical that it just aligned with my whole world that I've been painting for a very long time now. and nobody wanted the physicals, and now people do. So that was a big change for me.
Yeah, I guess that's a question that I have for you is tied to that. Do you have what's your perspective or kind of opinion and experience, having had some experience with like, you know, the NFT boom of the last cycle, and now it seems like there are a lot of people that are kind of leaning more towards physical. I've actually talked to, you know, a handful of people, but you know, like recently a gallery, like a digital art gallerist, and he was mentioning to me just like, you know, leaning more towards the physical. And so do you have any like thoughts or perspective from that, in that, you know, like what is the bridge between the digital and the physical, and like where do you maybe think it's going, or where do you feel like it's gone? And I don't know.
I do like the provenance of it, of there being a record in case something happens to the physical, that there's a real record of the work, because I put everything I can into a painting, you know, and I never settle. It's never good enough. I think about it in the middle of the night. I dream about it. Sometimes I'll get up in the middle of the night. I will come downstairs into the studio to just repaint something that I'm seeing in my head at night. And there are fires, there are water damage, there are things that get lost. I was painting in Long Island. I made a painting and I put it on top of the car. We drove away, and then the painting was gone, and then we couldn't even find it. Like, so that painting is officially lost forever. I really don't even know where it is, you know? So I really do like having the record of the work. But to me, there's nothing like physically painting, and the texture and the smell, and making digital art for me. It's so fast. It's so fast. Like you just drag the little color dot and you bring it over, and boom, it changes. But if I want to do that with a painting, there's a different process involved. And I think every layer, like if I'm painting to change a color, sometimes the color underneath comes through and it creates this beautiful, you know, Bob Ross happy accident that would never have occurred if I just dragged a little digital dot, you know. And I mean, I have so many friends who just do the digital art, and I love their work. But for me, I love a paintbrush in my hand. I love printing. I love drawing. I love being dirty on my hands. Not dirty, but you know, on my hands.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, my time spent with NFTs was quite short, and then I just pretty much moved to the physical only. And, you know, I think there's, you know, it's an evolving landscape, and there's, you know, I think it's kind of unfortunate that so much of that there has been as many, you know, just pump and dump money grab kind of scams with the NFTs. And it really kind of gave it a bad name when, like, inherently at its core, it's not, you know, like a digital certificate or a digital print. If it's, you know, sold in an ethical way and someone's collectors like want that, there's nothing wrong with it. And, you know, it's been kind of in some ways marred by these, like, you know, VCs, greedy VCs, you know, paying influencers to like pump some PFP collection. And like, it's felt like it quite quickly lost you know, a lot of the space lost the, you know, the value of the art. Like it felt like it went kind of in some ways fiat and modern art style, where it was like just about like, you know, who's got the best marketing team to like pump some, you know, totally just auto-generated crap that they made. And then that's what's popular. And so I feel like that's a little unfortunate, but there's like, you know, but as far as physical goes, there's nothing like something physical you can touch and hold. And also something about like, you know, at the end of the day, we're humans, and like, are we going to live our lives in a Apple Vision goggles in some like digital art gallery metaverse, or like hang TVs on our walls to display NFTs, you know, or is that, you know, a passing fad? And, you know, at the end of the day, most humans are, and hopefully will remain at least, you know, in this physical realm that we live in and have been living in for a very long time. And so,
well,
you know.
So this is my little shelf from Cody, right? He sent a samurai sword.
You're
And
gonna have to show us the sword.
Oh, here, Cody made this for me. So this is Ebony and this is Cocobolo. And he made this like samurai sword because I made these pepes and they were all samurais. And then he got into a kick and the handle, I mean, the whole thing, I just love it. And then he made this to hold it, right? And it's a chain link. It's just amazing. And it came in this beautiful box. And I kept looking at the box and I kept looking at it. And I'm like, this has to be repurposed because this is going to hang on the wall over the mantle. When I get a mantle, we just have a fireplace. There's no mantle. So this is going to hang there, but this has to be repurposed. So I put little shelves in it. But while I was putting the shelves in, I was watching the Titans of Hollywood. And it was in the beginning, and it was so motion pictures started. Then they added music and how somebody added the music, and then how one other company and the Titans, like the big companies and everything. And then when you look back to where we are now, that's where it all started. And I think everybody had to they were forging this new path. And so you got to kind of turn over every rock and go through the growing pains to come out the other side. Yeah. To figure things like this has not been done before. The NFTs, this whole world has not been done before. The movies did the pump and dump too, and but then when you kind of look back at Clara Bow and Al Jolson, I think his name is, like how things started. I think everybody was just trying to figure it out and find their way. And there's always the good side of things that happen and not the good side. But because it's never been done before, nobody knows the right way. For me, would I like, okay, so here's what happens on the screen if I'm not using the TV. I guess Google, whoever in the TV turns on these beautiful photographs. And at first I'm like, hey, I never said you could use my electricity. And then I start seeing the beautiful photos and I'm like, oh, that's really pretty. and so do I want an entire digital world? No, you're talking to a physical artist. I love the physical work. But I think hopefully that we're all just kind of going to figure it out and make the best of what we're doing for humans, for humanity, for visual art, whether it be on digital, whether it be, and like I don't know, because like I said, I got sucked into the photographs and I really thought that they were pretty, Yeah. But there's scammers always. I mean, then I started watching Enron. And I'm like, there you are. There's going to be scammers, So why, as a human, would we think that this space would be untouched by scammers when the banks are doing it and Enron did it? I think it's just part of human nature at some point for greed. I don't know.
I hear that. And I think that, maybe one day with some sort of hyper Bitcoinization, I think it's idealistic, but I dream of a world where there's less desperation and greed. And, it's only evident that much of that is driven by the fiat system of never ending money printing. So, maybe one day we'll get there, but as long as, the majority of the world is living in this fiat system, I think it's just kind of hardwired in that there's going to be scammers. So I hear you on that. Hey, I've actually got I've got two of your paintings here. And I believe that these are both going to be featured in edition 1 of Bitcoin Art Magazine. So I wanted to pull them up on the screen here and just ask you a couple questions about them. Let me pull these up onto the screen.
See, I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Okay.
Well, while you're pulling that up, I just wanted to say, for a long time, I didn't believe I belonged with Pepe. I didn't believe I belonged with Bitcoin. I didn't believe that I belonged in this space because I'm not technical. I don't know code. I mean, I've read the white paper and I don't know, the third sentence, and I'm like, oh, like there's so much to read, and it really is just a half a page. And I am reading the books, and I do have it on in my ear when I'm on my walk, like to learn everything about Bitcoin. But like I said, like my brain works in color or in physically moving paint is where my brain works. So I could listen to things and I may not retain them, you know, but my heart is there. I'm trying because I love making the work and I just love the community.
Yeah.
You know?
I fully hear you on that. And that's a big part of, I think the goal and the mission with Bitcoin Art Magazine and this platform is, I mean, I'm not, yeah, I fake it technically, but you know, I'm not a coder or a trader or finance. And so when I discovered Bitcoin, it was kind of like, how can I be a part of this? And, you know, I'm a autistic artist, a creative. And so I look forward, you know, I think the art space around Bitcoin, I think is amazing. And I think it's a beautiful way to fit in. And it's really important because, you know, working on conceptualizing something that doesn't actually exist tangibly beyond, you know, data centers of miners and so forth is really important for conveying what Bitcoin is and what is the human feelings and emotions and, you know, humble attempts at conceptualizing it. What are they and how do we share it with other people, something visually that's not, you know, what did you say?
The magazine itself, right? If I just saw this, I would be kind of intimidated by it, right? Because it's very technical and it's a real circle. And if I draw a circle, mine's like a little more wobbly. I always look for wiggle room. When I see your work, it's very technical. It's very like if there's a straight line, it's a straight line, you know? And if I look at Onyx work and his little lines and the balls and the lines and the balls, and I'm just like, thank God he made the video because I really, even though I saw the video, I don't totally get the entire math. My math doesn't math, right? What the magazine did was inside the magazine is there's like this kind of art too, you know, where it's not all mathematical. It's not all slick. There's like graffiti work in here. There's Skrilla, you know, like it didn't, there's not one way to make the work. And then that's where I started feeling like I belong because they're making a painting of a typewriter from the 1930s. And how does that fit in to what we're doing? But then I'm like, well, that's the precursor to the computer keyboard was that typewriter because the letters are the same. They're like that's the beginning of the tech where we are now. And so I think seeing all the posts from the Bitcoin Art Magazine that you've been posting, it has opened my eyes. It has given me more permission to belong, if that makes sense. That every kind of idea is valid, and I drive a car, and I don't know how the car runs, and I don't have to know how to mine Bitcoin to appreciate it and love the people in Bitcoin. And it just made me feel like it's possible. Like, Amy, just paint. Stop thinking and paint. Just stop thinking and paint.
Well, you are an absolutely incredible painter. I've got your typewriter pulled up on the screen right now. And would you tell us a little bit about the process behind just making this? I just want to say this is one of my absolute, I love this painting so much. I don't know exactly what it is, but something about just the gradients of the colors behind it. And just the textures, and I think maybe a part of it's a it's like a style of painting that I never learned how to do. And so there's, I love that when I see artwork and I still get that it's still kind of wondrous to me. I think as the more you learn how to do technical, the actual application of certain artworks, it's like they become known, and then it's not as like miraculous. But every time I see artwork that I'm like, I don't like know how to do that myself, I still kind of get hit with that awe and inspiration that I think drew me to art in the first place. So we're going to be featuring this in edition 1 of Bitcoin Art Magazine. And will you tell me a little bit about this?
Well, thank you for your kind words, because I think it took years to get to this point to paint like this, because there was a point where I would make paintings that even I would cry and just kind of want to give up, or I would get the pat on the head, like, that's a nice painting, Amy. And no matter what, like, I just kept showing up. And eventually I get to the point where, so I guess what happened dramatically to me was a long time ago, I spent more time drawing. And then when I learned or started switching to painting, everything got lost in translation. And then everything got more lost in translation when you're working with oil, because oil is easy once you've got to spend the time with it to get to know how to use oil paint in it. And the only way to do it is through painting. So I was reading all of my Bitcoin books, and I saw the quote that says, if you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have time to try and convince you, sorry. And I saw that quote and I was like, wow, that's just beautiful. Like, he's not being mean. He's not saying, well, if you don't get it, then you're less than. And he's not saying, it's nothing personal. It's just saying, if I don't have the time to convince you, if you want to get it, it's great. If not, it's great. But I'm going to kind of do what I'm doing. And so I read that quote and it kept like rolling over in my head. So maybe I don't get the numbers, like Anik does the mathing and I don't do the mathing. But the quote I kept going back to it, and I'm like, it's just lovely. And so then I was like, well, how could I use that in a painting? Like, I want to paint that, but how am I gonna not validate it, but how am I going to ask somebody to look at that quote with how am I going to ask somebody to look at this painting for something that I've fallen in love with this quote? And I don't know, for some reason it hit me. I said, I want to see it like typed out on a typewriter. And then that was the precursor to the computer keyboard, and it's all connected. And I'm thinking back then, like, all of those steps brought us here to this point of Bitcoin. And then like the other technical side was, how am I going to show a white paper that's on the typewriter? If I I put gray behind, then why would I put blue? And then I'm like, the orange with the black typewriter just made me tingle. I just loved it. And so that got solved. And then I drew it from life. So I'm staring at I'm not good in my imagination, but I was trained probably through the life drawing to stare at what I'm painting. So I'm pretty good at staring at a boat, at staring at a typewriter, staring at a human, and making the work while that is in front of me. So I had this set up, and I had all this like orange cloth I put behind, and my son kept touching the typewriter, and I'm like, dude, don't touch it until I'm done. Stop, just stop. I'm like, you could play with it later. It's my mother's typewriter, right? She got it at a garage sale. I'm like, just stop, don't move it, like, leave it alone. And so finally he did stop, and the only key that he had pushed down was the B, and I almost fixed it, and I'm like, oh. I'm like, what are the chances? And so if you look at the B key, it's Bitcoin. It's not just it's not like the others. It's different. And that's the one that he pushed down. I swear it's a family affair we got going on here. Then right around Halloween, it was on the easel and we were watching wrestling. This is where the samurai project came from. There's wrestling. We've watched all the anime. Like there's a lot of fighting. I got a sword, and we heard something fall, and I know the sound. They didn't, but I knew the sound. And I walked into the studio, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So the typewriter fell off the easel, and it actually, I thought it was okay, but it had a gash in it. And I wanted it to be very public that there was a gash in it. And then I asked Kafka and I asked other artists and Pepe Nardo, Subterranean asked Pepe Nardo. And we're all trying to like figure out, because I've never had a hole in a painting. Out of all my years painting, there was never a hole in my painting unless I put it there. So meaning I put it there because I bought cheap canvas and I just wanted the wood behind. So you cut out the cheap canvas and then I would put like a better canvas on top. I would stretch it myself, but I've never had a hole in the work. So there was a hole in this painting that ended up getting fixed. And then everybody is so kind. They were like, oh, that's Satoshi Nakamoto's spirit in there. So what I did was I patched it with, I have this painting, the Singer painting. Am I on screen at all or no?
You are. And yes, we can see that. Yep.
So this painting, I actually have this sewing machine in the studio, but I used a piece of canvas that I stuck underneath the foot of the sewing machine and I drew lines on it to make it really look like a quilt. So I said, how am I going to fix the typewriter? So the prop that I used to make in this painting is what was glued to the back of this one to fix the typewriter. So the two of them are like forever destined to be together. So anyway, the typewriter is fixed, and that's the story of the typewriter. But I did cry about it. I cried again about it when I saw the hole. I was like, oh, got a hole in the painting. It was so emotional because this painting took a long time to make, and dreaming about it, thinking about it. I got to cook dinner, and I'm like, but I'd rather be painting this thing. But people got to eat. Yeah, it was just this emotional roller coaster. But I think when I'm doing my best work, I'm fired on all cylinders. So when I'm finished with a painting session, I'm absolutely exhausted. Like it taxes me, because you're constantly looking and seeing shapes. Do I move it? Like I had to move the keys over, and then my mother took a look at it. She's like, it looks a little wide, and I'm like, really? You think so? And it just goes through these kind of phases of changing it to get it to where it is. And then finally it was finished. Whew. I love this painting. I do. I love it. I love the big Pepe one. Oh, this guy, the Infinity 21 million. I love that guy.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about so I love that lore of the way that you repaired the typewriter. Oh. And it's just forever got a part of the sewing machine on it now. I've got the sewing machine pulled up on screen here now. You got to tell us a little bit about this one as well.
Oh, so the sewing machine started, this is from a friend's mother. It was her mother's typewriter, and it's been sitting in the studio for a very long time. And it's always one of those things where I keep saying, yeah, I really want to paint it. I'm going to get to it. I really want to paint that. I'm going to get to it. And it never kind of fit into my ideas of what paintings I wanted to make. And so I started thinking about how I was learning about crypto, how I learned about Bitcoin. And I kind of learned about Bitcoin in bits and pieces, right? Like, a little drab here, a little drab there, but it was never linear. And maybe that's the artist way. Like I kind of think in loops and circles. And so I kept thinking about God, I'm really like patching Bitcoin information together. Like I'm really kind of patching it together. And when I read it in one of the Bitcoin books that I've been reading, or like in my ear, and do the Audible, and I download the book, and those people out there do things in a linear way. And so the dates started going like a calendar, and not me just saying, oh, this is pizza day, but where did it start? Oh, that's website day. No, this is white paper day. To me, I patched them. I had like all these bits of information that were kind of like the quilt, like fabric. And then so the books helped me kind of start sewing the bigger picture of what Bitcoin was in a linear way. Like I needed somebody to hold my hand and walk me through history in the way it unfolded, as opposed to me hearing like August, I would hear Infinity Day, and I'd be like, okay, so now I've learned about Infinity Day, and then so Infinity Day is August, but then come October, then it's the white paper day, right? So everything was mumble jumbled for me, and then I said, well, I'm like sewing Bitcoin information together. And this makes sense to do it this way. And I know there are other dates that really computer people probably be like, well, you forgot this date. You didn't put this date in. But the dates that I put in kind of stuck out to me. And so those are the dates that I put on the quilt. But I think it's pretty cool, right? Like I love, oh, sorry. Then this one's pretty big though. But I love like this is like the website day, right? When it was the first time that there was any trace publicly of Bitcoin. It was, I think it's like bitcoin.org or whatever. I have it because my brain does not retain, like it's the website. Yeah. And then on the 31st, it was the white paper day. So, and this is the Genesis block day. And this one is January 9th. And this is the first block was mined. And then this one, what is on the 12th? Oh, the first transactions from Satoshi to Hal Finney, and then the pizza day. And so like, even now, I still can't in my brain remember the dates in a linear way. I just wasn't made that way. And I know people are made that way, but I'm not, so I did write it down to kind of remember, but I not only was the painter, but at the time I'm sewing information together, and I thought this is perfect. But also another layer is, for me, I come from a time where my mother sewed like a Halloween costumes for us, or from a time that if your pants, your jeans had a hole, they were mended. You didn't just go and call Amazon to bring you a new pair, and you wore those things until you got another hole, to the point where they were sewed so many times somebody finally broke down and was like, okay, well, let's get her a pair of jeans. You use things. And I know that there's kids out there on the internet that are starting to darn socks again and put in buttons and stuff like that, but I think for the majority of the human race right now, Amazon is the answer, as opposed to, you could just fix this yourself, right? You could just sew it. But when I was growing up, I also had home ec, and my Miss Brown, she ordered these stuffed animals, and you could pick from a catalog, then you had to bring your money in, and then you sewed your stuffed animal. But I don't know if they have like really home ec anymore in school for sewing. So, and then Amazon is not always the answer. You could sew the shit yourself,
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty crazy to think that, there's, I mean, I don't know exactly. I would say though, a sewing machine, especially an old one like this, used to be such a much more common tool machine, like everywhere, and everybody, or, many people had a sewing machine. And today, like, very, very few people have a sewing machine, and probably a lot of kids would look at that and have, not even know what it was.
But before I did this painting, Asanoha, I made this, and Subterranean took them to Bitcoin last year. And I didn't have a lot. I only made a few. Like, I had this idea. I did this print. I have the print somewhere. Oh, right here. So I did this print with a little Pepe, and I kind of, if you do an edition, you're kind of on the honor system integrity as an artist. If I say there's 69 editions, there's 69 editions. There's artist proofs that I made that sometimes are just part of the process. Like maybe I printed this. I could take this out. So maybe I printed one of these lines and the line was crooked when I saw it printed. So then I go and I carve back into the linoleum and I make the line a little straighter, and you can print it again. And you're constantly checking. And then you reach a point where you're like, okay, this is good for the run. So I don't want to throw out all those other little bits that I have because I love them, but they're not part of the edition, right? So I said, but I wanted to keep printing this. I loved it, right? And so I said, well, what can I do to keep printing it that wouldn't disrupt the integrity of this print? And so I said, let me go upstairs, and I got a pillowcase, and I started cutting it up. And so I printed it. I printed it on a pillowcase, and then I have a regular sewing machine. That other one, I'm too scared to plug in. I think it'll cause a fire. So I'm too scared. I won't even plug it in. But I started sewing these together, and I sewed it with green thread. And I'm not the best seamstress, but my heart is there. And then I kept sewing like all the handles inside, and then I have to cut them all out again and get the handles back out or whatever. So this bag, but then it led to making like these bags. So then I started printing on these bags, and I started hand painting them. I love this one from Dark Farms, right?
Yeah, the smallest tote.
It's the smallest tote, but I also made a painting, and it's the smallest painting. Hold on, I have it right here. Look at it. It says the smallest painting. And I love it, but I don't know what to do with all this work, because I just kind of keep making it, and then I just go on to the next project,
Well, get good photos and list it on your website, and I'm hoping to as time moves on here be able to help be more of a marketing arm for the Bitcoin, the decentralized global Bitcoin art community. So make sure you're getting good photos and uploading, or good scans and uploading your works on your website. Because I was just on there, and I'm going to pull your website up real quick, just so people, if anybody's watching this right now, make sure to go check out Amy's website at Amy DiGi. That's AMYDIGI. That's AMYDIGI.com. And I saw on here you don't have your typewriter or the sewing machine on here yet, so you got to get those up on here. But
okay, yeah, I do. Like, but we just got through Christmas, and
no, I know.
Throwing a birthday party, and we got like 2.5 feet of snow, and more is coming. But see, that's okay. So two things. How do people feel about buying Bitcoin art with regular fiat? Because to me, that kind of seems like a little wonky. I would rather be able to sell Bitcoin art and accept Bitcoin for it. But I'm not a super genius about how to figure out how to get that done. And here's the other caveat. I'm interested, but not that interested. Like, if I have a choice to sit in front of my computer and put things on my website, or if I have the time to go make the work, like, making the work always wins. Like, nah, like, making the work will always win for me. So I'm my own problem. I get it.
Well, you just let me know if you ever want help with the payment rails. And I hear you. I do now accept fiat. And for a long time, I only accepted Bitcoin on my website. But there are a lot of people, especially new people to Bitcoin, who aren't comfortable, or maybe they're not doing the spend and replace, which they should be doing. So they don't want to spend their Bitcoin, but they will, put it on a card. So I do think it's, you might as well give them the fiat option. Most stuff we have to buy these, in today's day, for the most part, it's still in fiat, unfortunately. But I absolutely love your Infinity 21 Picasso Pepe. And I really like this Run BTC hat you've got on the Van Gogh book. I love the...
I have that. I have it right here. Look. So this one, let me show you right here. This one I made because I felt like this was me. It's me. I drive a Chevy. I'm just a regular kind of mom driving around town, taking my kid to Taekwondo. And I love the Van Gogh, and I love how about Bitcoin is in the beginning. Not so much now, people are more used to Bitcoin, but in the beginning, if I would say anything about crypto or Bitcoin, I was looked at like I was insane. And so Van Gogh was also looked like he was insane. I mean, technically, he did have a couple of demons in his head, but maybe if he was more supported in his artwork, that he channeled these feelings, maybe if he was more supported other than his brother Theo and the world, what if the world who supports the Van Gogh now, the dead one, was around to support him when he was alive? But people considered him to be crazy. And he did go to asylums, but we value his work. We love his work. But so if we value Bitcoin in the beginning, people thought that I was doing such wrong things, some people, and treating me like I was insane. And to be honest, I kind of am already kind of treated insane. It's like, well, Amy just makes art. That's nice, honey. But I work my ass off. And so this painting for me is like, yes, I want to see Bitcoin run. Woo, yeah. But in the meantime, I drive a Chevy, and I'm treated like I'm crazy for being an artist and for loving crypto, Bitcoin, So this felt like me.
That is the most, more than I could. That is a better description for that painting than I could have ever asked for. Thank you for sharing that. And I love what you're saying about Van Gogh, and it's almost in relation to Bitcoin entirely, with the world treating Bitcoin like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And, one day it's going to, more and more every day, but one day it's going to be valued, by the whole world, like Van Gogh's artwork is now valued. And so, that's a really wonderful painting. That is, I love how, out the gate, it's got a plainer feel to it. It's very nonchalant and casual, but I mean, the meaning that you just put to that there is just absolutely beautiful and succinct. And I can only imagine every Bitcoiner can relate with that. So
yeah, when you see it and you don't think it's so deep, you're like, oh, it's like a trucker hat. And I love that it's a trucker hat out of all the things. Then you think about the truckers in Canada, and then they didn't get their money, but then they get their Bitcoin, so it's like it's a regular trucker hat, and it doesn't look so deep, but it is, because Van Gogh was treated kind of insane. But okay, so there's records that he was. I don't know. Okay, but I was treated like I was insane. So being a painter, and I had a conversation with somebody one time, and they were like, but what are you doing? I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, I was a full-time teacher in New York City. I have all the credentials, and here I was saying, but I want to paint. And they were like, but just go to work and then paint. And I'm like, but you don't understand. If I'm not painting, I'm not living. If I'm not making art, I'm not living. So what's the point of all of it? So I can go to work Monday through Friday, have this job, have the insurance, and then be miserable like 90% of the people, I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. And so that painting really, it hits home, but they all do, they all kind of have, if I don't fall in love with what I'm doing, then I don't want to share that with the world, because I don't want to waste anybody's time with something that I threw up there and said it's good enough.
Yeah. I would say that's something along the lines of the mark of a true artist, but without getting into what defines a true artist. But yeah. I know that's beautiful. Hey, so we're coming up on the hour mark right about now, but I have a couple more questions for you.
Okay, shoot. I'll try and give shorter answers.
No. Everything. All of your stories are absolutely wonderful, and no, this is fantastic. I just want to say we are giving away a free copy of the Genesis edition of Bitcoin Art Magazine. And it's first come, first serve. I'm going to give the coupon code out right now. And so whoever happens to be listening to this and grabs it, head on over to bitcoinartmagazine.com, and you've got a coupon code for a $42 coupon code that's a free copy of the Genesis edition of Bitcoin Art Magazine. And the coupon is Bitcoin Art Podcast, Amy 42. That's AMY 42 at the end. That's all lowercase. Bitcoin Art Podcast, Amy 42. So whoever's hearing this right now, quick, go over to bitcoinartmagazine.com and get yourself your free copy. And
I love the integrity. I love old school books. I wouldn't rip it because I love it, but it kind of gets me a little mad that I want to take them out and frame them and put them up in the house, like each page, I get mad at kind of when people like use books for artwork, because I love books. I mean, I have all books here. So I wouldn't destroy the magazine, but there is a part of me that is just like, oh, I would love to just walk by and see the work on a regular basis. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's your magazine now, so you're more than welcome to do what you want with it.
I can't do it. but I'm putting it out. I can only imagine
any artist in the magazine would be honored if somebody were to actually rip the page out of the magazine and frame it. So, I mean, that's what we used to do. That's what I feel like you would do when you were a kid with pages in magazines or comic books and stuff that you liked. So,
but I would say that I can see these being framed and being shown in a museum, front and back to each side in a museum. And open to the public. I'm putting that out there because with possibly I'm gonna curate this whole show in my head. Oh, I got one more alarm going off, but we're still okay. So I do see the work, and not only the work in the magazine being framed, but the actual physical pieces that were in the magazine next to it, like the physical work with the page in the magazine in a big time show, hopefully soon. You know what I'm saying? Like the work is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. And I have some uncut sheets of a couple magazines. So that's actually possible for us to do at some point, is to frame the uncut sheets and display them. So it's pretty cool. I do have a few of those, and I'm gonna, my plan here is to send each of the artists featured in the Genesis edition. And I'm hopefully going to be able to get this for the next issue too. I'm not sure, but to send them, like some of the uncut sheets that have their spread on them, and it's got like other artists on the back and stuff from the signatures, but it's just really cool seeing the printer's marks before they like cut the pages out.
Yeah.
So,
but just wait till you have a staff, because that's a whole other animal. Now you're dealing with frames and like sending the work. Like, oh my goodness, give yourself a break. Wait, let's get a little bit of a staff to help you out with these other projects, because maybe those framed pieces is project in that department. And you continue with the project of overseeing, the curation of the magazine. It's a lot of teamwork stuff that's going to have to happen, because you're one person and you're going to work yourself to the absolute bone. I mean,
shout out Kisa, our senior editor. She helps me out a lot. So I'm not all alone here. but it is it is a lot. I am going full time. Hey, I'm gonna do another little sponsor show and collector show, and then I've got a couple more questions I'm going to ask you, and I know that you have to go soon here as well. So shout out to all of our sponsors who have got ads in Bitcoin Art Magazine. Please, if you're listening to this, head on over to bitcoinartmagazine.com, and at the bottom of the homepage, there's a little ticker, and go and click on some of our sponsors' websites and check out what they do. If you don't know already, and if you know already, make sure you're following them on Twitter. They're all really great companies. Like I've said, and I'll say it again, I either use or have used or would use or will use these companies myself, their products or their services, and I recommend them to friends and family. So we don't advertise or take sponsorship from anybody that we wouldn't use ourselves and recommend ourselves. And you can actually see them if you're watching the video. We've got the little ticker at the bottom of the screen. So shout out to our sponsors, and a huge shout out to all of our patrons and collectors who ordered the magazine or a fine art book. This is literally possible because of you guys. And so I am going to be eternally grateful that I've been able to do this. Thanks to all of you. And thank you to all of the artists who have put up with me and my crazy 3 a.m. probably DMs, who knows what, running around. And thank you to everybody out there making beautiful art. Thank you, Amy, for making beautiful art and making beautiful Bitcoin art and spending the time here with me today. And I want to ask you, I guess, what has been your favorite experience so far as a Bitcoin artist? Now that you've been a Bitcoin artist for a good little while, or maybe do you have one more really good story for us about just the project you worked on or something special?
I think it's the people. It's the people. Pepe, I was making Pepe's in the closet, and then Subterranean helped me. And I have to share. This is Sub's book here.
Yeah.
See, I think I should have gloves on when I'm looking at it. But if you've not seen this is somebody who doesn't do the circles that I do. Like, he can go from point A to point B to point C to point D. And I'm kind of a circle person, and Cody is kind of like a circle person. And then Kane is just everything, So like these are the three people, really, the ones that really kind of led me more and more to Bitcoin, even though I was making it. But Subterranean is the one who sent me to you. He said, "Hey, Asanoha is doing this magazine. Why don't you reach out to him?" And then that's how this ball got rolling. So I think the biggest takeaway is that the people in here are the people you surround yourselves are the ones that got your back and are the ones that are pushing you forward, even if you don't think you belong. That's the one thing is the people.
A really good community, and a big shout out to Subterranean. So
yeah, he's the first one who I was handing out Pepe's at a gallery. I wasn't invited. I was just like, here, have a Pepe. They were so in me. They needed to burst out. And so I just gave the prints out. And so the prints, like these prints are the ones I'm talking about. So I hand make these, but you're the one who is teaching me to get scans of my work. I've never had scans of my work. You should have seen me going to that place in Brooklyn talking to this guy. I'm like, so what are you going to do? And the machine is going to take a picture? He's like, just go get a cup of coffee and come back. And it's like, but you're also the one that said, hey, get scans of your work. So if you want later, you have the option of making prints, not linoleum prints that I roll the ink. You're talking like prints from a machine. I mean, I'm a machine, but
I was going to say I bet you your linoleum prints are going to be more sought after someday than the prints, very possibly than the prints of your paintings, because those are genuinely handmade by the artists. So there's a factor in there that no fine art reproduction print ever can touch.
Right. And then, so this is like another thing, like this is bumpy paper and it has texture. And so I made this one first, and then I made the Batari first, right, for Bitcoin, and I loved the orange and the HODL, and then I was like, because once you do an addition and you write the number, you cannot exceed that number. If I say I made 21 of these, oh, this is an artist proof. So I was figuring something out still. This is an artist proof. I messed up on the colors on the top. There's a reason why they were artist proof. I also, in the beginning, I cut the strips of paper short, and then you could see the space was big up here, and then it kind of got skinny. And I'm like, a mather could do the right angle thing, but that's not me. So then I figured, I'm like, if I just wrap them around and glue the back, then I don't have to deal with that problem. And then that's how I addressed that issue, because now it looks very clean. So personally, people are like, you're an artist, I can't even make a straight line, but I can't either. And I know that about myself. So then I had to figure out a way to avoid that problem. And that was just to fold it around the back. And then that's how I solved that issue,
And that's also going to make the edge, I can only imagine, just that wraparound on the edge is just really nice. So there's like no chance of it peeling up or anything. Hey, no. So you're going to have, you're submitting some of these to the gallery we're doing in Denver.
This one's going to Denver, not this one. This is an artist proof, but these are available on my website too, but I don't know. I'm just not good at selling stuff.
Well, if anybody's listening to this, head on over to amydigi.com and buy a print or buy a piece of artwork, reach out to her. And we are having a Bitcoin Art Magazine gallery at the Space in Denver. Thanks to Scarce City, who will be helping us with submissions, hosting the auction, and it'll be hosted on the Scarce City website. And so Amy will be sending some work out there. To anybody listening, keep an eye out for Bitcoin Art Magazine times Space Denver times Scarce or scarce.city. And we've got a gallery that we're putting together of a bunch of wonderful Bitcoin artists. Some of which are featured in the Genesis edition and some of which will be featured in edition 1, which we are working on edition 1. Right on. This has been absolutely amazing, Amy. Thank you for taking the time today. Thank you for sharing with us such wonderful stories and explaining some of your artwork and sharing a little snapshot into your studio. You've got me feeling really inspired and making me want to put some stuff up behind me here. I've got it. Sometimes it's kind of plain in here right now, and it makes me want to get out the paintbrushes and kind of, pull out the, I kind of have got everything put away for the magazine stuff right now, but actually pull out some of my art supplies and make some actual handmade artwork myself, which I haven't done in a minute. So you're giving me the itch, which is wonderful. And yeah, I guess my last question is, are you working on anything right now? Anything new, or do you have any ideas for something you're going to be working on? Any little sneak peek that you can share?
I mean, I've been working on this, but the holidays came, and now working on a birthday party for my son. But this came. It's a Bitcoin baby, and it's my son, but it's like Bitcoin baby, and it says "Mommy, Daddy, HODL forever," and. DeSalter is the one who came up with forever, I think, or subterranean. Both of them helped me just with the words and the idea behind it. And because we were at a Greek restaurant and we were eating, and the waiter, he was talking about Bitcoin. I don't know how we started talking about it. And he has his Bitcoin on Coinbase, and I'm like, you can't, you need to take your Bitcoin off of an exchange in case something happens to that exchange. Yeah. And my son, who's 8, I've never had a prouder moment, looked at this man and he says, you don't own that Bitcoin if it's in a marketplace. He goes, if it's in Coinbase, you don't own it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love the boy. Actually, he's the one who said it first. Oh, I was so proud of him. So like, I'm raising him right. He doesn't have a wallet. I'm not putting his work out there, but he is learning And he does go to some events, and he's met the Salter and Subterranean and Jolly, and did he meet Jolly? He met Swalja, but he's making the rounds. And I told him, I said, if anything ever happens to me, I'm like, you get on Twitter and you talk to people and they'll help you.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. That's absolutely epic that he said that.
Yeah, he says you don't own it if it's in an exchange, and he,
Yeah.
So,
no, I love that. All right. So that's a little bit more of a personal painting. I mean, that one might stay in that might go to your son, huh?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the rule in this house is that she'll make more. I give it. It's not that so much that it has to be of my son, but I would feel bad if I took anybody else's baby, like a copyright.
Yeah.
I felt weird, but I'm okay with my sharing that. But I do love this new generation of children being born as Bitcoin babies.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful piece to share for the end of the episode here, in that we're all here, we're all doing it for the kids. And that's why we're doing this, or at least most of us.
Right? Like you're going to hodl all this Bitcoin, but you have an expiration date. So now what? Now where's it going to go? It's got to be generational wealth. It has to be. Yeah.
And making the world, striving to make the world a better place for the kids, for our kids and our kids' kids and so forth. So,
Definitely.
Awesome.
I have a bus. I have to go get a child from a bus. So
speaking of which, Amy, thank you so much for taking the time with me today, with all of us. And to anybody listening to this, go check out amydigi.com and make sure to follow Amy on Twitter. I believe it's just at Amy DiGi on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
DG somewhere. Yeah. So, but I want to say thank you for your time too, because you are doing so much for all of us. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, and it's an honor getting to be here, getting to do this. And I'm just grateful to all of the artists for entrusting me with this and allowing me to do this. So thank you so much. Everybody, check out amydigi.com. Head on over to bitcoinartmagazine.com and tune in on Tuesday for Onyx show. And then on Thursday, it'll be me again. And we've got Yonat Vox next week with me. And then Yonat's actually going to be doing, I think 1 or 2, maybe I think 2 shows a month. That'll be with a couple of different artists at a time. So we got some cool stuff coming up, and we have a gallery at Space Denver. Keep an eye out for that. And I'm working on edition 1. So thank you everybody for listening, and thank you, Amy, for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.